Hey everybody, it's Aima Kabani, and I'm here with your favorite broker, Hussein Kabani.
That's right. And here we're going to be telling you a story of why you need the correct representation when you are buying a property, and why will also help you when you go back to sell your property. And it's not a story that we want to do like some kind of agent bashing, but it's things that you should really be aware about because it actually happens and it could really affect you financially, mentally, physically. And it's just a bad thing to happen if you don't have the right person on your side. And without further ado, we're going to jump right into it.
Live behind decisions I chose. Peaks feel good and the valleys get low. Chains for the tires in the rain, hail, snows. Like this everywhere that I go, everywhere that I go.
So here we go. We had a listing, and it's not quite the market to set up like a multiple offer situation with, but when you have like a really nice property and there's not much around it and there is some unique proposition about the property, maybe you could get away with it.
Yep.
So this one is, it's a nice property. It was pretty well maintained. It had 4 bedrooms in the house, plus every bedroom has its own washroom and walk-in closet.
Which was very unique.
Yep.
To have a bathroom in every bedroom, finished basement, and completely separate entrance, like kitchen, washer, dryer, bathroom, everything was
again well thought out too, because like the owners would have their own space when they came downstairs, so they had like an exercise storage area still, and then they still had a pretty big basement apartment that was separate, that was rented out.
100%.
So a really nice property for somebody that needed some help with some mortgage or had a really big family. So nice property. And so we put her up on the market and we held back offers. We didn't go too crazy on lowering the price too much. And our expectations were pretty real, I think, in terms of what we were going to be able to get for the property. So, you know, we listed it, and our strategy is that even if we're going to try this hold back situation, we're not going to hold back offers for too long. It's like 5 days.
Yeah.
So we got everything ready. It was really annoying because like not for us, for them, because they have
clients,
like, they have 2 kids, and it just kind of happened that we were doing this, and they had to pack up everything and get everything ready in order for staging and photography and video and all that stuff.
And they did a great job too, because with 2 young kids, they practically emptied out the home. They listened to our suggestions, moved things around the way that we asked for, and found a spot to go to for a week while we tried this. I say tried because it's not working all the time, right?
Yep.
And just to let us just do our thing and give us our space. So
and even some hiccups, right?
Yeah.
Like they were trying to remove like this big piece of furniture.
Yeah.
Ended up denting or like scratching something up.
And the bed was just so big we couldn't even process how it was brought up the stairs in the first place, to a point where we actually got someone with a saw to cut the bed in half.
Yeah, they're calling us at night to try to find somebody to cut this bed in half. And it's like, dude, how did you get it up? He's like, it was smaller. What is this, swollen up over the few years that it was there?
But they were just so adamant to get this bed out because we said this bed cannot stay.
But they thought it was a really nice bed.
They did.
They thought it was a really nice bed, and I was like, oh, like if one thing you have to remove is this bed, like, it's got to go.
So they got rid of it, and they got rid of it by chopping it into 2
pieces and taking it down and
Thanks
damaging stuff at the same time. So, goddamn. But all that said and done, the house got prepared really, really well. And we did an open house, because like things are slow a little bit. So we got to try all avenues. And if you ask me, open houses don't sell houses, okay? But we had a decent amount of traffic come through the property.
And I think, like you said, it doesn't sell houses, but we love doing it, especially because you as an agent get a lot of exposure. So I know a lot of people say it's nosy neighbors that are walking through, but those nosy neighbors could potentially want to sell as well. And I think that's where the value comes in for the agent.
For the agent, it's really valuable.
And we always say that, like you said, it does not sell homes, but this case was
a little different.
Yeah,
it was a little bit different. So we organized the open house. We had a lot of great families come in through the property, and there's one particular family that really stuck out. As they were even coming into the property, we chit chat with them. Your brother was there actually too, because I'm kind of training him on open houses and whatnot. He's recently licensed, so he's doing good with that. And he was there helping me out. So we're chatting with this family. He's asking some really good questions, and it turned out that the whole family really didn't want to come and see the property. But the one daughter, from what I recall, the one daughter was like, no, we have to go check this property. It's an open house. Let's just drop by.
Yeah.
Turns out that they walk around the house. They're there, I don't know, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and they really like the house. So they're asking lots of questions about the property. We're giving them as much information as possible.
And it was a right home for them because they had a big family. Every single kid in the family was, when I say kid, they were teenagers or older. And the idea of them having their own bathroom and not have to fight for the shower was great. And one of the older sons were married, and he wanted to live in the basement with his wife.
They were living in the basement, I think, in their current house, but they didn't have like a kitchen or...
Exactly. It wasn't completely, separated. They had a bedroom and their own space, but no kitchen and things like that. So for them, it's like the house was made for them.
It was ideal.
Yeah,
it was a really ideal property.
Yeah.
Like it checked off, if you could say checked off all the boxes, that one actually
100%
did. So
did,
it worked out really well for them.
Yeah.
So we knew that they were kind of interested in the property. They did say that they had an agent. So we said, okay, that's great. Sunday night, I ended up receiving an offer. I'm like, wow, okay, we got a preemptive offer. That's pretty cool. And preemptive offers, like they're going to be something that, they're going to squeeze you on time. They're going to be a very strong offer. It's like, take this offer. You're not going to get anything better than this. And you better do it right now. That's a preemptive bully offer.
Yeah, that's why they call it a bully offer, because it's supposed to be enticing.
Yeah, but what ended up happening is that this agent basically sent me an offer that's irrevocable, like on the offer presentation day, 2 days later.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, that's great. Like it's a preemptive offer with lots of time to think about it. That's awesome. So I said, let's keep going.
Yeah.
So on Monday, we were kind of following up with other people that have seen the property, whatnot.
We were
a couple of
getting
people were
decent amount of
saying that,
showings,
hey, we might come forward. We might come forward. And I forgot, on Tuesday night, we ended up having...
I want to say 4 to 5 offers as well.
I thought it was like 3, but 3, 4, 5, something like that.
Yeah.
We ended up having this many offers. And we kind of went back and forth. This particular person had like a condition in their offer of basically their buyer selling their property first, right?
Correct,
and basically, we didn't want a clause like that because it's like, first of all, it wasn't it wasn't written correctly.
Yeah, I think we're okay with those clauses.
I'm not.
Most agents, it's not an acceptable clause. Like you could say that, hey, it's contingent on this person selling their home, but then you always have to put a timeline in it. Just like our story with the permit as well. You can't just say, hey, the permit needs to be closed until closing date. It has to have a timeline to it, right?
Like I think those clauses could work in a situation where maybe you're on the market for a very long time.
Correct.
And that seller has no other option of basically saying, hey, I got to roll the dice with this person.
Yeah.
Or what I see happening is like more expensive luxury listings where you still have to give that person that time.
Yeah.
On a property like this where we are like, hey, we need to sell this property in order to close on this next property, it's not a clause that you typically want to accept unless your back is against the wall.
Especially when you have other offers in play. Why would you choose the one that's going to stall you out, right?
Exactly. So we basically, we tell people like, hey, listen, like, we're not going to accept these offers. Like my client doesn't want to accept these offers. We need to have a firm offer.
Yeah.
But the problem with that clause that she even wrote, which we would not have accepted anyways, is that the closing date is the day that they had until to sell their house.
Yeah.
So like logically, how does that even work? You didn't even put the clause together correctly.
Yeah.
Like your closing date is, say, for example, December 15th, and then you have until December 15th to close your house. Well, what happens on December 15th if you didn't sell your house? Are you still closing this one? You're not closing it? What do we do in that meantime?
And why should we wait until the closing date to find out
it
if the
would
house
be a
is
very,
sold or
very
not?
dumb thing to accept on our side. Like it basically takes us right out of the driver's seat completely and puts us not in the back seat. It puts us in the trunk of a stolen vehicle. It doesn't make any damn sense.
Yeah.
So basically, we're just like, dude, it's not going to fly. Like this has to be a firm deal. And listen, we very, very, very nice family. We want the best thing to happen for them because I met them. I think that they're awesome, and I think that the house is the right fit for them. But the deal has to also work out as well.
For the sellers,
so we told them, like, look, you don't have to do this.
Yeah.
You don't have to do this. But if you guys want this house, and I'd love to see your guys get the house.
Yeah.
We're not going to accept a conditional offer, right? So you're going to have to go firm on this deal if you want it, but you don't have to. Turns out they went firm on the deal. Yep. Okay. They went firm on the deal. So there's no conditions. They have a deposit in place and they're closing on an acceptable closing date.
Price is right. Everything is right.
So we went back to the other offers and said, hey, sorry, it didn't work out for you. There's an offer that was close. We just said, hey, it didn't work out for you guys. We're going to roll with this offer.
Yeah.
Well, right away it started the next day. It's like, I need the deposit the next day. Well, guess what? They have their money at Tangerine and they didn't move it around. And I'm like, oh my God, here we go. Here's the starting of a freaking saga. Let me just back it up for a second, okay?
Yeah.
Before we accepted the offer, I'm nosy. So what do? I basically find out where they live. I find out where they live.
Yeah.
I find out when they bought the property.
Yeah.
I basically run a report to find out when the last time they registered a mortgage. It's all public, guys. I didn't do anything shady.
Yeah,
you can pay $35 and run a report
run
on someone's
reports.
property.
Yeah,
It's all public information.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, someone can find out when you got a mortgage, how many mortgages you have, and how much money you owe against your property. So it's all legit information.
Yeah.
So to protect my client, I want to make sure that there's a way out of this deal. And I did a high level comparable and I said, hey, you know what? These guys have owned the property long enough. They paid X for the property. I know the last time they got a mortgage registered. And in a rough idea, even if they don't get what that agent wants to get for them, because I asked the agent's expectation, if they don't even get that, there's enough equity to play around with it. It might be a very bitter pill to swallow, but my client, I think, is going to be safe at the end of the day.
And I don't think that's being nosy. I think it just became a part of our practice in the sense as well.
It's our practice.
It's our
but
practice.
People find,
yeah.
I wanted to mention it because people might be like, how can he do something like that? You know what I mean? But you got to know this is all public information. It's a $35 report.
Exactly. You see the names and you want to make sure that this is part of the right representation conversation that we're having, right? You represent the sellers and we want to make sure that the buyers are submitting. We check to see what properties they own, what they don't, and because you have access to this is why the systems are in place for you to be able to do this.
As long as you want to spend a couple bucks on trying to find out what's going on.
So I'd say it's the right practice for good reason, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
So right away the next day after we accepted the offer, this Tangerine deposit. It's like they don't have the deposit. And she's like, no, next day we're going to get the deposit and this and that. We're going to electronically transfer it and blah, blah, blah. I was like, what am I going to do at this point? You know what I mean?
Fine,
like I'm kind of stuck now. Right. And so I was like, okay, fine, whatever, man, tomorrow. And I start chasing again the next day after I start getting nervous in the afternoon. I'm like, dude, like, where's my money?
Yeah.
And then eventually the check shows up at the office. I was like, oh, thank God, like it's there. Now, since we know the property address, we're waiting for this property to hit the market. We're like, come on, hit the market. I've set up the search already. Hit the market. I'm messaging the agent. Where's your property, dude? At the same time, as soon as they dropped off the deposit check or shortly thereafter, what I do is I text the agent and I'm like, hey, like we've been through this so many times. I'm like, dude,
many times.
Book the appraisal. Yeah. Get the appraisal done right now. Like set your appraisal up, get your mortgage in place, like start working on these things right now. I'm telling you the day after or 2 days after, start doing this now.
Yeah.
Their house is not coming on the freaking market. They're not booking the damn appraisal. And I'm like, dude, what's going on?
Everything is so time sensitive.
Suddenly, the house shows up on the market. I was like, okay, thank God the house showed up. But they listed it at a stupid price, in my opinion, to hold back offers. I'm like, dude, you're going to list it at this number and hold back offers? I was like, what's your strategy? She's like, open house. I was like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, how can I legitimately tell this person open houses don't sell houses when I sold like a house to their client on an open house?
On an open house.
Mind you, she never showed up to show the house prior to them purchasing it either.
Not during the open house, not since she never went to the house.
To the house when the deal was being done at all. Yeah. So it's like, okay, fine. Open house it. Let's see how this works out. Do you know what I mean? Obviously on offer presentation
I'm sorry,
day,
I have to say this without, I have to say that she also didn't load the open house correctly.
Yeah, it wasn't. Because to load the open house, you just don't put it on MLS. You have to actually go through something in our system called like My Profile, and then you load the open house through there. It's not actually done through where you load the listing. So I don't think a lot of people know this, and everyone thinks that their open houses are online, but they're actually not. But yeah, so she's basically... we're following up with her the day before and saying like, how's it going? How's the traffic before offer presentation day? We're like, hey, how's it going? What's going on? Oh, lots of people coming in, lots of interest. If you're interested, I can help you. I'm like, no. I'm not interested in buying the house. I'm the listing agent for the property your clients bought. And she didn't even put 2 and 2 together.
No,
I'm like, oh my
so
goodness, man, what's going to happen here? And I'm like, okay, give her a benefit of the doubt.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
you know, all the offers get registered on Broker Bay. So like I'm clicking on Broker Bay to see how many offers registered. There's no offers registered and I'm freaking out. I'm like, dude, you have no offers. She's like, you know what? I'm not going to rush anymore. We're just going to take our time, okay? We didn't get any offers. We're just going to push out the offer presentation date for another week and we're just going to wait. We're not going to rush. We're not rushing anymore. What the hell do you mean you're not rushing anymore?
She said, just be patient.
Just be
and
patient.
that, again, all of these things are so time sensitive. It just doesn't make sense to be patient.
So I'm, again, like a bulldog, like following up, like, what's your strategy? What are you going to do differently? Like, open houses are not going to sell houses. Like, you've got to do something different. You can't rely on this. You guys have to look at your price. Like, it doesn't feel right. So eventually, after I think a week or two, she listened to me and lowered the price down.
Correct.
Right? Like $150K. She lowered the price down and then still held back offers, which still didn't work out. At this point, I'm like saying, like, dude, like, you need to figure this out. Like, you guys need to do something different over here because it's not going to make sense. Do you know what I mean? And I find out that this agent has been licensed since the beginning of this year, since February, and she hasn't really done many deals. She has done a couple because I can check, and she's done a couple, but they still haven't even closed. So I'm not even sure if this has been successful on their end. And I'm not going to speculate on what she bought, but whatever. But you know, I'm like, hey, this, and I basically kind of tell her like and she made a comment that made me feel really skeptical about her not knowing what's going on. She's like, oh no, don't worry, my clients still like the house, they still want to buy it. I'm like, dude, that's not an option anymore. You bought this house. It's a firm deal. She kind of says it in a way that, hey, like, don't worry. We're still going to buy it. It's not like we're going to back out of this deal. I was like, dude, you have no choice. This is a legally binding agreement. And when she said that, I said, I hope you guys have a good lawyer and someone that's going to explain this to you guys, that there's going to be ramifications if you're not going to be able to close this transaction, right? Like, it's not a joke. So she got her business partner on the phone, and who's a mortgage broker and a business partner. I don't know how this works. Aima calls me her business partner. We're not business partners.
We're definitely business partners.
No, we're definitely not business partners.
Wink.
Okay.
A wink.
No. Anyways, Aima is a paper pusher for me. Chotu, as we call her. Yeah. No. But, you know, so she gets her business partner, which I'm like, okay, well, maybe he's going to help to do something. And I still don't see any results in this whole thing.
Yeah.
But I'm keep pushing. They lowered the price even more a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, the funny thing is that they never changed the offer presentation date in the listing. It's still the same offer presentation date the whole time.
Yeah. With this whole situation, I feel like nothing was going right. It's like everything that you're supposed to do, update the MLS listing, and it might sound minor as we're talking about it, but these are not minor things. This, when you're holding back an offer and you have an offer date, it tells us that you're looking for more than what the price is listed for. But if you've changed your price or if you've lowered your client's expectations and you don't change that comment, a lot of agents will assume that, hey, you're still looking to get more, especially if they're not having conversations.
You have offer presentation date like 2 or 3 weeks prior to today's date.
Like it's everything is just amateur. It just all screams amateur.
We're not going to try to bash people, but this is a real story. This actually happens, guys, and I wouldn't want that to be your listing on the market. That's why we're kind of just putting this out there. So, like, what ends up happening over here is that all while this is happening, we're updating our client at the same time, and we're basically saying like, hey, like, you know, this is still what's going on with this property, X, Y, and Z, whatever else. So we're kind of just at their mercy, and I'm actually preparing my client to say, hey, this is what's going to happen if this deal falls through. And I've already prepared them well in advance of accepting this offer as well, of how things work. But I'm saying it's getting real right now, right? Because these guys, I don't see them making any real moves to be able to sell this property. So what ends up happening is that I think they were trying to book a appraisal. Finally, after 2 months of purchasing this property, or a month and a half of purchasing this property, we get an appraisal request. I was like, oh, thank God.
Great.
They figured something out. Because in the meanwhile, prior to that conversation, when her business partner got involved, he was saying they're going to look at some financing to try to keep both houses. I was like, awesome, great option, okay? They got a bunch of older kids. Maybe they have incomes. Maybe they can float both properties. That's a great idea.
Yeah, there's options.
If you can't get what you want for the property right now. So they book an appraisal. I was like, awesome. The moment the appraisal came in, I'm messaging my clients, we're going to accept this appraisal, like it's happening. And then I message because we get the name and phone number of the appraiser. I'm texting the appraiser, hey, dude, it's confirmed. Like, go. Like, go to the property. Please go. And then, 30 minutes before the appraisal, it gets canceled. I'm like, message the appraisal. What the hell happened, man? You canceled. He's like, yeah, I got a message from the mortgage brokerage to cancel the appraisal. I was like, what the hell happened? I messaged the agent. Hey, it got canceled. She's like, yeah. You know, we had it canceled because they're charging too much of a fee for the appraisal, or charging too much of a fee. It's like, what do you mean they're charging too much of a fee? Like, you guys need to get this going. Then I have my guy that's a mortgage guy. He's really, really good. And I'm like, listen, I will feel so much more confident, and we're willing to work with you a lot more. Like they were already talking about extensions and whatnot.
Yeah,
And we're like,
yeah.
okay, fine. We already knew it was going to go down to that.
Yeah.
So we're like, we're willing to work with that, but you got to talk to my guy. Because if my guy tells me or says that he can work this thing out, I have so much more confidence
Yeah,
that he's
yeah.
going to, if he says it's doable, then I feel
It's
comfortable
doable,
with the
yeah.
deal. And my clients would feel more comfortable about that deal as well. But they don't communicate with him.
No,
They don't
they don't.
contact him. And we're just kind of like waiting here of what's going on. Next thing that happens is freaking wild. So we get a notification from the lawyer. We get a notification from the lawyer that says that there's a catch basin on the property. And it wasn't disclosed. Actually, before that even happened, the agent calls me.
Yes.
The agent calls me on a Saturday and she's like, you know what? She's like, there's a catch basin on the property. Our lawyer did a title search and there's a
Yeah.
catch basin. And we didn't know that there's a catch basin and you didn't disclose that there's a catch basin.
Yeah.
So my clients want to do a home inspection.
Yeah.
And they want to make sure that everything is good with the property before they move forward.
Yeah.
And I was like, lady, the catch basin is there. We didn't cover the catch basin. It's
Yeah.
there. And I'm pretty sure this is not a legitimate way for you guys to exit this,
get out of the
this
deal.
deal. But you do what you got to do. You do you.
Yeah.
At that time, I'm like, I know a lot of real estate lawyers. So I started calling my real estate lawyers and I started messaging them and asking them, hey, this is what I'm being told.
It's just one of those things you know, but then when
Yeah,
a
'cause
situation
I'm
arises,
second-guessing
you start to
myself.
second guess yourself
Yeah.
and you want to reach out to your contacts and say, hey, am I right?
Yeah. And the other thing also is that I want to go back to this person with like the utmost confidence of
Confidence and
basically
say-
saying, hey, you're wrong.
Yeah.
You're wrong. You're dead wrong. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like you don't have a loophole here, so don't waste your time.
Yeah.
So basically, I get confirmation. I'm very comfortable with this because I got a lawyer basically quoting me section 10 of a purchase and sale agreement and showing me where it says that they're going to accept title even with this on it.
Yeah.
Okay. And what ends up happening is that our paperwork is like bulletproof. Okay. So we have like the full legal description. Some people don't put the full legal description in their schedule. They do an abbreviated version because it looks cool and you don't have to like answer too many questions about easements and things like that. Because who wants to research easements and get into all of this stuff?
And
We
some,
do.
and
We
sometimes
like
those
it.
words scare people as well,
Sure
right?
they
There's been
do.
many times we put the full description and people say, what's an easement? Like, is this not fully ours? Like there's a lot of questions that
Sure there
arise from
is.
it. And I think that I see why people would admit it, but there's more benefits to having it than to not.
100%. And
Yeah.
guys, it's a very easy to check what an easement is. All
Yeah.
you do is you copy the easement, you paste it into the email, and you send it to the city or town and say, what does this mean? It's so simple. It
Simple,
takes 5
yeah.
seconds and they'll tell you what it means.
Yep.
And then to protect yourself, you could just forward it to your client and be like, "Boop,
Yep.
that's what it means. You like it? You don't
Exactly.
like it? Forward to your lawyer. Like
Yeah.
I did my part. Like protect yourself, right?
Yeah.
So basically what ends up happening is that I go back to her with
Yeah.
full confidence and I say, no, it's not going to work. And it's section 10 of this purchase and sale agreement. And we have the full legal description. And if you go to picture 39 in the MLS, that's still there, shows the damn catch basin right there. He circled it. There it is. And if you look at the video at this minute and second, there's a catch
can see the
basin
catch
right there.
basin.
So we didn't hide it. It wasn't covered in snow. It's right there. You see catch basin. And it says there's an easement on the property. You should have checked what that easement means. Surely enough, on Monday, we get a letter forwarded from their lawyer to our lawyer saying that we need out of this deal because there's a catch basin. I'm like, what kind of a retard lawyer did you even use? What kind of a retard lawyer did you even use that has the balls to send this to another lawyer? Like, how do you feel about yourself? Like, that would be like death to me if I send something stupid like that to
And
another
I feel like
agent.
if we've reached out to our lawyers and said, hey, we want to do this, and if we're not
My
in the
lawyer
right,
would have been like, you're an idiot.
we're
Hussein.
told like, hey,
Yeah.
no, that's not allowed. This is how it works. But the fact that this lawyer sent something out that has no basis just tells me that they're also just
And
as
that's where I got
incompetent.
really concerned. And I even called the agent and I said, listen,
Yeah.
you guys are sending this kind of stuff. Makes me really doubt that your lawyer knows what's going on at this
yeah.
point right now. So
It's
can
like
you
if you could
please
just-
make sure that you guys have proper legal, representation.
Yeah.
And
it's-
she didn't want to hear anything.
No,
she
she
basically
didn't.
just said, don't worry, we have everything under control and we're
Control.
doing everything correctly. I said, and at that point, when you go to me at that level, I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm done with you.
Yeah.
Like, even if there was a point of negotiating with you, I won't do it.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's where we ended up with them. And they're basically like, our lawyer fires back a note and basically says there's no basis.
Yeah.
And basically shows them where we have the whole legal description of the property and says that was your due diligence to make sure that you understood
Yeah.
what that meant. Furthermore, I am a nut. Okay. So if you deal with me, I am absolutely a nut in terms of backing up everything. I sent
Yeah.
a full 7 points of time and date stamped of every time I've had communication with this
the
person
agent, yeah.
and every single opportunity that I have given them to help them and move this deal forward. And we basically said that there's no way that this is happening.
Yeah. And if I remember correctly, even underneath the full legal description, there's a paragraph that says that the sellers and buyers both understand that this agreement is not being reviewed by a lawyer. This is the
If
lawyer.
it's not being reviewed by a lawyer, you guys understand the repercussions
Yeah,
of
that you understand that you're buying this the way that it's written. So all those little clauses are worth the read.
Sure.
Yeah, as an agent, you should be reading them.
Yeah. So what ends up happening? The next letter we get from their lawyer, obviously they figured out that, oh, this is not going to work because they have a catch base and we can't get out of the deal all of a sudden. We need an extension.
Yeah.
And
I feel like if they
dude,
just spent so much time trying to find loopholes to get out of the deal,
should have just worked on marketing and selling the property.
just get the house sold.
But to bring this to kind of a close, so they asked for an extension, and we've dealt with extensions so much. So the lawyer asked me my opinion on it, and I have nice 6 points of how this extension is going to happen. But I'm not the end all be all. So I suggest this to my clients, and they're okay with it. We forward it off to the lawyer, and the lawyer adds their own things to it and whatever else like that. We send it off, and I'm following up with my lawyer and saying, hey, did they respond? They didn't respond. Did they respond?
Yeah.
Well, guess what? A few days later, we saw that their house sold.
Yeah.
So their house sold.
They obviously had to make a compromise. They sold
Sure.
it for lower than what they wanted it to be, but it's reasonable, right? Like at the end of the day, you've got into a contract to purchase a new home, and you need to figure out
if you can't get additional financing, you need to bite that bullet.
Find a way. Yeah. And I think we'll do like a separate video on this as well. It's just when someone says they want an extension, it's not just easy as, okay, fine, let's just give you 2 more weeks to sell the house. There's so many other
There's moving parts
repercussions.
on the other side as well.
Exactly.
But you know what? It's their house sold.
Yes.
But the thing is that, look, I guess if we come down to the moral of the story is this, right? Like, it's a big transaction at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So the thing is that you have to be very comfortable with who you're using. You know what I mean? Like, there were so many mistakes along the line.
Yeah.
And I really feel bad. Honestly, I feel bad for the other end of the family that's on this transaction. And I wish that they had a little bit more of a clear picture of what they were getting involved with. Maybe they did. Maybe I'm out. Like, maybe they were the ones making these decisions. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I just wish that it went a little bit more clearly. Things were mapped out a little bit better.
And even if they were making decisions, it's like what we said, like when we point out things to our lawyer that don't make sense, they point it out to us. I guess that's the whole point of right representation, whether it's a realtor or a lawyer. They should be telling you what makes sense.
Yeah.
If someone says, I want to do this, and it doesn't make sense, like it's your job to advise them. That's the whole part of this service, right?
100%.
Yeah.
And you have to be knowledgeable enough to be able to
advise
it, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm not 100% sure, but I think I have like more than 500 deals that I've already done. And believe me, like we've screwed up. We've made mistakes. We've learned from all of these stuff.
Yeah.
We've dealt with market changes. In 500 houses, that's a lot of deals and situations that you've been put into. And the thing is that this is not a cookie cutter type of transaction. Every deal is different. There's a lot of variances that happen, and you have to know how to react when something happens and how to pivot really fast. And that comes with experience.
It comes with experience, and you'll hear from our next story as well. There's some things that we don't know either, but like you mentioned earlier, there's easier ways to find information as well.
Sure.
When you're not sure about something, let's say you don't have the 500 homes sold in your portfolio, but you're new or whatever it is, there's ways to find information, an email, a connection, the right lawyers. You can get answers very easily if you just try hard enough.
Yeah, you have to be open and you have to be able to spend money. Like, you know what I mean? Sometimes, no, but honestly, sometimes I recommend some lawyers and they're like, I found one for $200 less. And I'm like, okay. You're trading like $2 million or $2.5 million in total between 2 houses, and we're talking about $200.
Yeah.
But that's on you, right? If I recommend a lawyer, I really believe that they're going to be able to take care of you.
That's
you know what I
true.
mean? So I think after my experience, I'm giving you a good lawyer.
Yeah.
And the same thing comes down to all the professionals that you're going to use. A mortgage broker that's probably charging you an extra $50 or $100 for an appraisal. Like, maybe they know what's going on. You know what I mean? Not in all cases. And same thing applies to when you're looking for representation in your real estate transaction.
Correct,
so, the moral is that you got to work with professionals and be comfortable with what they're able to do. And when things start to go wrong, you have to really be able to try to be proactive and come up with solutions versus just hoping for the best.
And for most people, your biggest asset is your home. So when you're exchanging these big dollar values, I think it's worth exploring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? The thing is that we were pretty calm throughout this whole process
Yeah.
because we know what was going to happen, how it was going to play out, the good, the bad, and we prepped our client the whole way. And you know what? From the beginning to the end, our client knew what the risks were. Like right up front. Like even if the deal fails, even if we have to not move forward with this person and resell the house to somebody else, they were prepared for all of these situations. They probably wouldn't have liked it.
But
we were prepared for these situations. They knew how it was going to play out, the whole thing from front to back. We gave them all the scenarios.
Yeah.
You know, we're always trying to not bash people, but we're always trying to just let you guys know what is actually happening out there because these are real stories, real things that we have gone through. And we just want people to make smarter decisions when they are trading their real estate because they're really big decisions.
And even though it is our experiences, we really want to know what you guys think about them. If you have experienced something very similar. So if you enjoy it, if you have some feedback from us, please like the video or leave us a comment and we would love to chat with you, especially Hussein. All he does is talk all day and it's always with me, and I would love it if he talked to you instead.
That's right. So my calendar link is below. Aima's really tired of listening to me talk about real estate. So I need new people to talk to about real estate. So I would love to get on the phone with you or a Zoom call and talk to you about real estate until you basically disconnect. Okay. So until next time, guys, remember one thing.
Get Kabani.
Get sold.
Sell it, sell it, sell it, sell it, sold. Sell it, sell it, sell it, sell it, sold. Sell it, sell it, sell it, sell it, sold. Sell it, sell it, sell it, sell it, sold.